Our video today has nothing to do with really an exercise per se that I want you to do. What I'm sharing with you today is an entire lifestyle movement, an entire way of moving your body in a way that will bring you into better health, will make you feel better. And that is the alignment of your pelvis. Now, when I learned that I was not carrying my pelvis in the correct way, everything shifted for me. My back pain shifted, my diastases started to heal better, my abs started to become stronger without needing to do any type of abdominal exercises or crunches or anything like that. So the placement of your pelvis changes everything. It'll change how you run, it'll change how you walk, it'll change your entire yoga practice. And we forget about the alignment of our pelvis. We kind of take it for granted. And for those of you women who are watching this and you've been pregnant, you know that your pelvis gets completely out of whack during pregnancy. Sometimes you have a lot of separation happen in the pelvis and it doesn't come fully back together, and you have, pubic symphysis pain or other things like that going on. Or maybe you just had so much baby weight that your muscles have taken on different shapes and different lengths that trying to get your pelvis in neutral isn't as easy as it used to be. So we're going to review the proper alignment of the pelvis, and this is something that you should be practicing every moment of the day. Okay? So proper alignment of the pelvis looks like this: that your pubic bones, that bone in the front side of the body, and your hip bones, that bone that's right here, it's called your ASIS, those two bony markers should be right on top of one another. So if you were looking at your in a mirror sideways, this bone and this bone should be vertical. Okay, but for some of you, that's not the case. For some of you, it looks like this, where your hip bone is actually in front of your pubic bone. And what you need to work on doing is bringing your pubic bone forward. Now, if some of you feel like, I just have such a belly, it just kind of drops forward, that's because you're probably tilting your pelvis incorrectly. So when you bring your pubic bone forward, it's going to naturally smooth out the stomach area without you sucking in or doing a lot of abdominal work, because it's bringing it into its natural alignment. Now, when you do that, for some of you are going to say, it feels like I'm tucking my tailbone under, okay? Now, tucking your tailbone under is a different dynamics. Tucking your tailbone under looks like this. And you might know people who stand like this, of which their pubic bone is now in front of their hip bone. That is not what we're going for either. We're going for the pubic bone, hip bone, right on top of one another. And that's correct alignment of the pelvis when you stand. Okay, now we're going to go to looking into how that plays out when you sit into a chair. A lot of us sit in a chair many hours throughout the day. If we're not sitting in a chair in our job, we're sitting on our couch, we're sitting at the table for dinner, or we sit at our table to work on our computer. And oftentimes the posture in a chair looks similar to this, or on your couch looks similar to this, where the tailbone is tucked under. If any of you have a diastasis and you measure your diastasis in the morning and then you measure it right before you go to bed, a lot of times it's expanded and it's gotten a lot bigger. Well, I want you to notice how often during the day were you sitting like this, because this type of posture shuts off the core. We don't engage it at all. It shuts off the glutes a lot. So if any of you have been doing my lunges and my squats and things like that, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with glute strength, it might be because you're tucking your tailbone under all the time and shutting off the glutes. So what you want to do is when you sit, you want to sit on those bones at the base of your butt, okay? They're called your ischium tuberosities, okay? Those bones, you want to sit onto them. And you want to sit on the front side of them, not on the back side. Because if I were to sit on those bones on the back side, I'm still in a tucked under position. Okay, not as bad as slouching all the way back, but I am tucked under. So what you want is to come to the front side of that, which will bring your pubic bone and your front of your hip bone vertical. Okay? So again, these 2 points are vertical. When you sit that way, it brings the back into proper alignment, so you don't have to worry about your back alignment. Just shifting the pelvis itself will bring the back into the right place. It'll also give your digestive system more room. It'll give your breathing more room than being in this position. It'll also allow you then to bring the upper body into correct alignment as well. So now I'm going to take you down onto the floor and show you what proper alignment of the pelvis looks like while lying on the floor. Okay, now I'm going to talk with you about how the pelvis lines up when we're lying down on the floor. So when you get there with your knees bent, I want you to first kind of just feel where these hip bones are and feel where the pubic bone is. And notice what your natural tendency to do is. For the majority of people, their natural tendency is to let the pubic bone lift up a lot and to completely flatten out their lower back, so that if you were to try to take your fingers in your lower back, there's no space there. So when you come onto your back, proper alignment of the pelvis should be the pubic bone and the hip bones are now level to one another. Okay, so bringing those into alignment. So what that means is when you come into things on your back, let's say you're doing some yoga poses on your back, like you're doing one leg up, or let's say you're doing a twist. We oftentimes come out of this, but it's really important to stay in neutral spine. So if you take one leg up and stretch the back sides of your legs, what happens is people press their backs in because they can get their leg closer towards their face by altering their pelvis. But what you do is you bypass the importance of the stretch, which is keeping the pelvis neutral. And you'll notice that as I keep the pelvis neutral, I can't bring my leg back as far, but I'm working the body in the proper way. Same thing is, let's do a hip opener, okay? A lot of times people will grab the backside of the leg and they'll pull the knee significantly into the chest. Now I've completely flattened out my lower back. Alter that a little bit by bringing the tailbone down, trying to keep the pelvis in a neutral position. Now come into the stretch. It's completely different. It changes things. Same thing with if you're going to do like a reclined butterfly, bringing the bottoms of the feet together, knees out to the side. Well, having the tailbone tucked under is going to change it. So bringing the pelvis neutral is where you want to go. So anytime that you come down onto your back, you're trying to work into this neutral posture and try to maintain that as much as you can throughout the movements that you're doing. So neutral pelvis is something that you're going to have to practice all the time, every moment of every day, just really thinking about, okay, where am I lining up? And the more and more you work it, the more and more it will become automatic to you. Good luck.